But Danya, I do want to take us to the Magnus Carlsen game because speaking of top players in the world champion in all three formats, classical chess, rapid and blitz, he has himself a really cool battle against Praggnanandhaa. And we have Parham in the background behind Magnus on screen. The many onlookers staring at the monitors that show these games. Look at this position. The last move played from Praggnanandhaa was knight e7 to d5. I know your instincts are definitely the same as mine. White should be thinking about pushing that h-pawn, Harry, up to h5. It is clear that he is in the driver's seat. He just has look at this, an initiative, and he plays h5. He is not showing any fear. He's not restraining himself. He is going forward because he knows objectively is a good position.
Yeah, he's not going to pass up the opportunity to induce permanent weaknesses on the king side, and Magnus just has an ideal position after move 15. It's non-theoretical. He's gotten Pragg out of his preparation. The Indian junior has already spent almost an hour, and the toughest tasks, the adversity is really still ahead for Pragg. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Every time the chess world starts to shovel dirt on the world champion, he just finds it in himself to turn the narrative around. This, of course, is one of the key hallmarks of all-time greats in any sport. It's just their ability to take a tournament that, with another loss or two, could turn into the worst performance of their life and make it into a performance that definitely wouldn't be called the best performance of Magnus's life if he even wins the tournament, but it definitely would be one of the greatest comebacks of his career if he can finish strong in the last two rounds.
You look at this position, he has great chances. He needs to focus solely on this position, and queen d1, I love that move. The more I think about it, the more I like it, because I'm actually not sure what Praggnanandhaa should play as a response to it, as queen b3 threatens two pawns at the same time, and I just don't know how Pragg is going to deal with those dual threats.
There are other moves that on the docket that Magnus could consider. You could play rook f1 to e1, but I don't love that move because it relinquishes, not entirely, but somewhat, the possibility of pushing the pawn to f4. And the best moves are those that keep all of the options open while increasing the pressure. Queen d1 checks all of the boxes in that regard. 48 minutes on the clock to make 20 moves for the world champion. He definitely doesn't have to rush. He can really take his time, enjoy this position. I'm sure he's having a good time thinking of all the ways in which he could cause further problems to his young, incredibly talented, but struggling opponent. And
there it is. Yeah, he's definitely played queen d1. No,
of course he did. Was there ever any doubt, Robert, that he would play this move?
Brilliant suggestion by you, and brilliant move from Magnus Carlsen. Magnus versus Praggnanandhaa, because the last few moves have been really important. The dynamic has changed, where Praggnanandhaa was passive, he was worse. Now all of a sudden he has the activity, and look at this. The last moves played, Danya, if we just go back a few, Black finally was able to strike with the move d4. And then the rook slid up to e4 afterwards, not moving the knight because e5 would have fallen and black would have been better.
Check.
With check, and would have been a bad situation. So he goes rook e4, attacking the pawn. After d takes c3, the knight is gone, but the bishop is gone as well. And now it's up to Praggnanandhaa, who has 5 minutes to make 6 moves. It's only move 34. Oh, not easy. This is really not easy for the youngster.
The position is objectively drawn. We are aware of that. But imagine having 4 minutes here for 6 moves against none other than Magnus Carlsen. We're about to see a move. Here we go.
Chess is objectively a draw if you find all the best moves, but that's the hard part, is finding the correct choices. Look at Praggnanandhaa. He's putting his hand. He's ready to reach. Is he going to push the pawn? You saw him glance at the clock. He now looks up at Magnus Carlsen. He wants to move, but isn't certain. How could he be? He can't see 20 moves down the line, and that sometimes is what it takes. Because if you give up a rook, for example, with move c2, the white queen will snag the rook with check. The white pawn can go up to e6. He played it. He played it. It's a brave choice by a very talented teenager from India, and he has recognized that the white king is too exposed, so black will be able to survive in many of these variations.
What a fearless, brilliant move by Praggnanandhaa, giving up a rook with check. And I don't know if we should pull up an analysis board, but presumably Magnus is going to take a little bit of time.
Whoa, how did that pawn get up on f5? What's happening here? The black king, despite black being up material, has an extra queen. How did this happen? Can we just go back?
So oh my gosh, Magnus played f4. What a crazy move.
Wow. And queen was made on c1, and then he went f5.
Yep. F5.
That's unbelievable stuff.
Crazy, just playing positionally, and he's threatening f6 check with an obvious checkmate. So Pragg has to immediately evacuate his queen back to c7 to cover the f7 pawn. Magnus delivers the check on f6. No, this is going to be a draw. This is oh, and what an idea by Pragg. After queen f8, Robert, it looks like checkmate is unstoppable on g7. But Pragg saw this, and he sacrifices his queen on e5. And the idea, as he has just indicated, is to allow his other queen to deliver a check on f4. And he has calculated this out to a draw. And he's cutting it incredibly close. It looks like white can escape with king g1, and black does not have the time to take the rook, but he does not need to take the rook, does he? Well, I think Pragg, just a couple of moves ago, was already felt that Perpetual was in his pocket, that the draw was right there for the taking, and all of a sudden, white's king has made its way into the center. There's no Perpetual to speak of. The king has way too many directions in which it can run, and as you pointed out, if white wins this game, it will be because Magnus has a clear plan of creating a passed pawn on the queen side.
The reason why it's a draw is while black is up a pawn, white's pawn is more advanced. So black will be forced to just check that king. And look at Magnus. He knows it's a draw.
And a draw
for the repetition.
A draw for might already be forthcoming. There are no... And the thing is, black might not even have to push the h pawn. I mean, h5 is one way to draw, but I actually think black can pursue white's king to the edge of the earth. The queen on a8 does not offer the king really any sort of shelter, and you often want to give diagonal checks these types of positions in order to avoid the possibility of the queen blocking that check. Just the way that Magnus is moving, I think, signifies the fact that he understands that his winning chances are no more.
It looked at the start like Praggnanandhaa was going to lose a fourth game in his last 5, but the resilience he has shown is a testament to his strength. I mean, his age belies the fact that he is a true fighter. He has had a lot of experience in many of these events. He's just going to give checks. He knows he has the draw, so he just is going to go back and forth, and he's going to split the point with the world champion. A great showing after a tough stretch from Praggnanandhaa. Okay, and it looks like it is about to be a 3-time repetition. Pragg looks up at Magnus. He knows that it's a draw. Here's the draw. Agreed. And the clock is stopped, and Magnus and... Oh, no, that's not where the king goes.
No. No, Magnus, you didn't win the game.
Yeah, that's funny. You put the kings on the light squares like that when white wins. You put them on the dark squares when black wins. But you put them in front of each other when it's a draw. So that was just a mindless thing by Magnus after a long game.
What a cheater.
They're talking about it. They're going to analyze a bit, and there is a lot of respect between these two. Of course, everyone has respect for Magnus Carlsen's chess. He has been the best player in the world for so long now. But Praggnanandhaa, he's on the rise, and he has secured a draw against Magnus Carlsen.